Hello everyone, this is Juan Bloise here with Washington Interpreters, bringing you more relevant news and information about our interpreting community. This is a very important video whether you are a new interpreter or a seasoned one with years of experience, because I'll show you how the WFSE union is set to destroy yet another interpreting industry while bringing back one of their most corrupt and protected leaders. Watch this entire video to learn about your rights and share it with all interpreters you know. Now let's get started. The Interpreters United WFSE Union emailed interpreters on December 5th, a few days ago, revealing some of their latest shenanigans in a deceiving way, as always. Make sure to pause this video whenever you need to read the information on the screen. As you know by now, the WFSE union has expanded its representation monopoly of public workers. Besides representing DSHS and L&I interpreters, they now also represent interpreters covering appointments through the Department of Enterprise, or DES. They have already introduced their so-called proposals, which are systematic steps to centralize industry control and destroy workers' rights, exactly how they have done to DSHS and L&I interpreters. Look at these proposals from the list. Appointment minimum rates and times, which equals whatever the state decides interpreters are worth. A grievance process, which equals medical facilities and state agencies against interpreters. The WFSE union absent, see L&I cases about their incident resolution process. All a mess. Credentialing and professional development, which equals the same outdated system imposed on DSHS with no improvements. That's why they oppose a national certification test. Reporting and accountability, which equals laughable, proposed by a union that protects their own corrupt leaders. But they continue here saying they'll have another meeting on December 15th. However, look at the members of their so-called quote-unquote demand to bargain team, headed by Milena Calderari-Waldron, who's been saying for years she is quote-unquote retired, and Quan Tran, their puppet president. Now, notice how the name LeRoy Mould is here as well. For those of you who do not know, LeRoy was the Interpreters United Local 1671 president for many years before Quan Tran, who hated his guts for being corrupt and racist, but coveted his position as well. The WFSE union bringing back this corrupt leader, LeRoy, and his moldy reputation to the forefront is bad news for interpreters. I'll show you in a minute. Because both Milena and LeRoy led Local 1671 for years, gaslighting interpreters to surrender their rights, centralizing control to favor state agencies while being good tools for the state of Washington, saving them a lot of money at the cost of better working conditions for interpreters across the state. For instance, the WFSE union and most state agencies rely on Milena Calderari-Waldron's quote-unquote expertise with interpreters to make decisions affecting interpreters at large. The problem is that while Milena believes she has the best intentions, she's at best a court interpreter who barely works and lives in a bubble and believes she's more intelligent than you because of her college degrees. She is a very stubborn and unwilling person and does not admit when she's wrong about anything. For instance, here is Milena saving the state of Washington money at the cost of interpreters. She convinced years ago the WFSE union to bargain away mileage reimbursement for interpreters, arguing that, quote, the state should pay interpreters to interpret, not to drive. End quote. This is a very low IQ argument for somebody who thinks she's so smart. You see, interpreters didn't agree to this, but the WFSE union did it anyway because they relied on Milena's quote-unquote expertise. And when their members attacked her and the other leaders for such betrayal, her answer was, quote, hoping we will weather this storm well. End quote, meaning you will get over it eventually. Today, interpreters do not have any mileage reimbursement from the state of Washington, all thanks to Milena. This brings us to LeRoy Mould, the corrupt WFSE leader making a comeback. Not only was LeRoy the local 1671 president for years and supported Milena taking away mileage from interpreters, but he also deceived L&I interpreters back in 2018, promising that we wouldn't lose the ability to contract directly with L&I. I believed him back then, but unfortunately, he lied, and we all know how that worked out in the end. I also exposed public records showing LeRoy's corruption back in 21. Look at this. While accusing small language agencies of corruption, LeRoy Mould, the former local 1671 president for 10 years, began bidding for the L&I contract back in 2019 while still serving as president, highlighting a gross conflict of interest. He had his own language agency called South Sound Interpreting. Read the image on the screen. As you can see here, he planned to, quote-unquote, hire and train staff, which means hooking up his buddies to implement their own scheduling system, trying to create a monopoly for himself and his buddies while accusing independent interpreters of doing exactly what he was secretly trying to do. Again, all of this while being the union president. You cannot make this up. All of this happened back in 2019, the last year I supported the WFSE union. Back then, Quan Tran, the current local 1671 president, shared with me text messages showing how he was exposing LeRoy Mould for his corrupted ways. I'm releasing these text messages for the first time, so take a look. Quan here is sharing with me his assessment of LeRoy as a leader, which Quan sent to him. Quan is exposing LeRoy Mould for being racist, sexist, and abusive, yelling at Quan and others for his suggestions. Pause the video and read the image on the screen. Quick to label, quote-unquote, not a team player to those who disagree with him, and look at the bottom here, quote, placing loyalty and respect to WFSE and its staff above the membership, end quote, meaning the interpreters. Quan's also saying here that LeRoy held secret meetings with state agencies and companies without informing the union's executive board. Quan Tran was doing good, but unfortunately he sold out since he was offered LeRoy's position and became the president of Interpreters United, instead of leaving the WFSE union as many other interpreters and I did back in 2020. But I still expose his leaked emails to the Freedom Foundation about LeRoy and WFSE's corruption back in 22. That's right, because as much as they hate the Freedom Foundation for showing workers they have the right to opt out of their dysfunctional union, Quan Tran was secretly working with the Freedom Foundation from the inside before selling out, exposing racism within the WFSE union and how members do not have any power or any voice because the WFSE union staff makes all their decisions. In closing, now you have seen that even though the WFSE union has been representing interpreters since September 14th, 2023, 2+ years, they still do not change. They are bringing back the same people who destroyed the L&I industry, who lied to interpreters, and served the state of Washington instead of the workers they claim to represent. Look, I know many of you are mad because you were deceived and voted for them, but while Washington interpreters finds a way to get rid of them, here is the beauty of this situation. You see, the WFSE union is obligated to represent DSHS, L&I, and now DES interpreters, even if they are not union members or pay any union dues. That's right, you do not have to become a member. And if you're currently a member of the WFSE union, you can opt out today. It is your right. And when you opt out, keep sending all of your labor complaints and emails to WFSE as they are obligated to help you. Also, make sure to carbon copy Washington interpreters on your emails to WFSE because they can get in big trouble if they refuse to help you after you opt out. And we will be here to make sure they are held accountable. There will be a video follow-up on this issue, so make sure you do not miss it. In the meantime, whether you are a DSHS or an L&I interpreter, you do have the right to opt out of the WFSE union and stop paying union dues. We must get rid of these horrible unions, so go to optouttoday.com/WFSE1671 to do so and keep your hard-earned money. See you in the next one.